If you have ever felt that the financial system in its entirety is working against you, you are not wrong. There are options to kind of take back control for yourself. The bad news is it's not the easiest thing in the world. But the good news is, even though it can sometimes feel like all of your options are bad, you do not have to gamble to start working on this. Welcome to part 2 of DeFi 101, a totally free little mini class that I'm putting together here to help us build a foundation to incorporate decentralized financial options into our plans. There's a bunch of places that it kind of makes sense to begin learning about first, but we are going to start learning about wallets. One of the easiest ways that I've found to describe what a wallet is sort of like an account that you would create, except instead of this account being on a specific platform or within a specific app, it's by itself. And it's an account that you can take with you and bring to different places without having to make a new one every single time. These accounts belong to you, they are managed by you, and you have permission by yourself to do things with these accounts. You could think about it extremely similarly to something like Venmo or Cash App or PayPal. They function very similarly. Many of them even look similar on your app or on a desktop browser extension or something like that. There are tons of choices, but for today's example, I'm going to use something called Trust Wallet because it is pretty popular and it's one of the more readily available ones. It's worth mentioning that this is not in any way, shape, or form sponsored by Trust Wallet. I've never spoken to anybody from the team. It's just a free wallet that you can use to get started. Most of the big platforms and protocols, jargon term to remember for later, that we're going to cover in this course or this mini series can allow Trust Wallet to connect to it. So it's one that's going to be able to go with us to a lot of different places. Now, in the event that you do not already have a wallet, we're going to start with this create new wallet option. Lots of these wallets have some built-in options for you to get started with, but right now we don't need to worry about any of that. So things like this, we can just skip past. You might see pages like this that show you some native staking options for some different cryptocurrencies. And to be very honest, for right now, we're going to skip past this as well because we need to understand a few more things before we get into something like this. But I wanted to bring it up just because you might see high interest rates listed over here. And what you don't see necessarily is that that involves purchasing these cryptocurrencies, which you may not feel comfortable doing or even really understand what they are. They might be terrible investments. We don't know yet. So again, we're going to move past this first. So let's highlight a few jargon terms that we're going to want to become familiar with because they are integral to our first basic steps of using a wallet. The first is the idea of a transaction, which is what we're going to be doing with our wallets. We're going to be using it to hold, send, or receive something. And this is going to feel not totally foreign. It's pretty similar to many other payment apps, like I said, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, stuff like that. There's just a step or two that's extra, and it's a little bit different overall process because there is no company in the middle that's taking care of everything, charging us a really big fee, and then being the one that really owns all of the money, right? We're in charge. We are doing what's called custodying our own assets here. And so that means that there's some security features that you are now in charge of instead of a bank or a middleman being in charge of. This brings us to a very important piece of information that we're going to need to know about our wallet called the address. Easiest way to think about the address is like an email address or the address to your house. It is okay for other people to know what your address is, the public one that is. This allows someone else to send something to your wallet. It would be just like giving somebody a Cash App handle or your email address and letting them send something to you. Just because they have that address does not mean they can log into your account and take things from you or log in and check your email, right? They would need a password for that. We'll get to that in a second. So the public address is a long string of letters and numbers unique to your wallet, and that's what allows people to send you things. A very universal experience inside of any of these apps, even if we're not using Trust Wallet, but a different one, is to go to the home screen and look for a button that says Receive. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be relatively easy to find. If it's not, I'd be a little concerned about the wallet, to be honest. It probably is going to be more annoying to use than anything else. But after hitting Receive, you should be given a string of numbers or sometimes also a QR code that somebody could scan, which would be the same thing as scanning, your cash tag. Now, depending on the app or the wallet that you choose to use, the setup process is going to look a little bit different. So please feel free to ask questions about a specific one that you're looking at if it's different than Trust Wallet. Again, there are tons, so there's no necessarily right or wrong answer here. But depending on which one you use, you may be prompted with something called a seed phrase in the beginning. It may show you a series of 12 to 24 words that it asks you to memorize, write down somewhere, keep safe, and don't share with anybody. That is the key to the wallet, okay? That is the way that you can access this wallet from anywhere else. The reason that it's so important is because whoever has that phrase has the power to log into the wallet in question and the authority to authorize a transaction from that wallet, meaning that whoever has it can log in and send the money out to themselves or to somewhere that you're not okay with the money going. Make sure that you have a backup copy of this, because if for whatever reason you ever lose access to your wallet or to the device that your wallet is on and you need to import, another good jargon term to look up, import your wallet to somewhere else, you're going to need this passphrase to get in there. Do not share it with anybody ever, unless you are comfortable with that person taking money from you or going into your account and doing things on your behalf. Okay, I'm talking like close, immediate family members here. All right, the most common scam in all of Web3 is trying to trick you into giving access to your wallet to somebody nefarious. Protect that. Don't let anyone swindle you into taking it from you. Okay, the platforms in question, the apps, Trust Wallet, any of the exchanges, none of these companies will ever reach out to you and ask for this address. Okay, they will never ask you for this seed phrase. So anyone who's reaching out to you anywhere trying to get it from you, just assume that it's a scam. We're going to wrap up today by quickly touching on the first thing that I would recommend becoming familiar with in terms of what kind of cryptocurrency to start buying. And that is something called a stable coin, which is a great jargon term for you to look up and start learning a little bit more about. Personally, I tend to use one called USDC. It's very readily available. And it also allows you to use lots of different platforms, lots of different apps and services, and lots of different blockchains, which is all stuff that we're going to cover later. The big thing to be aware of here with regards to stablecoins is that they are, as the name implies, stable in value. They are not ranging in price every single day like something like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or one of those other cryptocurrencies is. It's definitely worth noting that even a stablecoin is not without at least some risk. There is a level of risk associated with all of the things that we're going to cover here, and it's possible that stablecoins become unstable, which is why we want to make sure that we're reading about the company that issues the one we're looking at, which is why I use USDC. It's just the one that I feel the most comfortable with. I will see you in episode 3, where we will talk about actually getting some of these stablecoins and sending and receiving our first transactions.